Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Game and Gig podcast, Game Informer magazine has closed its doors. Don't you dare stream a visual novel, and will the successor to the Nintendo Switch be successful in a world overpopulated by handheld gaming PCs?
Well, y'all, welcome to the podcast. The Game and Gig podcast is a weekly gaming podcast. We are viewer-driven. We read and react to your comments. We're starting things off today with talking about kind of a bit of bummer news.
Bummer news.
Bummer news. Game Informer, the magazine, is all of a sudden, seemingly out of the blue, closing down after, I think, 33 years in the biz.
Mm-hmm.
This was actually quite surprising to me, and I felt a little gutted. I'm not going to lie. Maybe not gutted, but, you know.
I felt targeted.
I know.
Because I literally just subscribed. I had literally just sent them my money, and they were like, ha! No magazines for you, doofus. But I think I still will get an issue or two.
I think you will. You should. They did say that they're sending out their last issue, and then it's over. And which is crazy because Game Informer has been the magazine that I think of when I think of gaming magazines. Game Informer, like Nintendo Power.
Yeah,
those two. But
yeah, I was going to talk about Nintendo Power, at some point, because to me that's what I still think of. Mm-hmm. But it hasn't been around for, as far as I know, hasn't been around.
Hasn't been a while.
Is it in Japan?
I think that there's something in Japan that they sell at the Nintendo store.
Yes, there is, and because they recently released like an
English version of it, which was a little weird that they even did that.
Yeah, I had it. I bookmarked it. I have it somewhere because I thought maybe it might be cool to look at on a stream sometime. But yeah, I don't know what it's called. I don't think it's Nintendo Power.
I don't think so either. But Game Informer, it has been the main one. Obviously, Game Informer was owned by GameStop, so a lot of people ran across Game Informer via GameStop. It came with, like, if you were a GameStop Pro member, you got a subscription, like a digital subscription has been the recent thing that you got when you were a member of GameStop. But now, not too long back, Game Informer announced that they were kind of not splitting off from GameStop, but making it so that you could subscribe and get a physical version of the magazine completely separate from GameStop. They kind of distanced themselves a little bit.
They were a little compartmentalized, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think they were trying to hide the GameStop connection, but
no.
But they definitely weren't making you do both.
Right, and so I have been getting the physical the magazine not too long though. I've only got a handful of subscriptions or magazines, but I've been loving reading them, and that's why this was such a gut punch, because it seemed like now I've got this thing that I've just loved getting back into. I kind of dabbled in it when it was digital only. I would read a little bit, but only rarely.
Reading a digital magazine is not fun to me. No. I don't like the way they translate to digital.
Exactly.
I would rather read articles or whatever if I'm going to read on a screen. But
same. Yeah,
a magazine, just, there's something about a physical magazine, though.
So we put out a poll just to kind of judge everyone's, to see where everyone was at on this. The poll said, sadly, Game Informer magazine is closing after 33 years. Have you ever been a subscriber?
That's right. At 39%, people said, yes, I love to be informed on games. And at 61%, people said, Game Informer, I barely know her. That's a no.
That's a no, but still, roughly a 40-60 split.
Yeah.
That's a pretty decent number of people who have...
Well, it's been around for so long, and, people grow up seeing it at GameStop. I'm not surprised that a pretty big chunk has had, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I ever had a subscription, but...
You just did.
I don't know that I did, Randy. But I definitely didn't have one when I was younger, but I did, procure some Game Informer magazines. So I figure there's probably some yeses in here that are kind of like that too. Or maybe there's some no's who still read it, but, maybe didn't sub.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got some comments on the poll. You want to hit us with this first one from Morris?
Yeah. This is from Morris Dennison, who said, I was for about 10 years, turned 18, and threw them away. Now it's one of my biggest collecting failures, like selling my GameCube collection or my PS2 collection. And my initial reaction here is how many GameCubes and PS2s did you have? Because, that's awesome. And why would you collect all those consoles and then just let them go, Morris? Like, are you reading this the same way?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm pretty sure it's GameCube games and PS2 games. I mean, I know you know that. I know you know that. Yeah, but in terms of getting rid of the magazines, magazines are one of those things that you really do kind of, when I was young especially, like I would throw them away. The magazines that I collected when I was younger was I did the guitar player magazines.
Yeah.
Like I loved those magazines, but I didn't keep them. I didn't have a collection mindset about them. So like once the new one came, I just ditched the old one.
Because you're a kid and you don't think ahead like that. How can you, you know? But like, because I had Nintendo Power for years. I would love to be able to look through those issues now. How cool, how nostalgic would that be, you know? But I can't. I just chunked them, you know. I mean, I remember how it was, you know. There'd be a magazine laying on a table at the house and Mom would be like, Daniel, you still reading this? Are you done with it? And I'd be like, oh, I'll just chunk that shit.
Yep, it's gone.
And now here we are. Like, I would kill to have those.
Yeah, and there are people out there, like, there are people who have full Game Informer collections. They're going to go up in value now that it's shut down. But I bet I would expect them to. But I've seen people, I've seen in GameStop. On GameStop's website, you can buy old issues of Game Informer magazine. You could buy them for like nothing, nothing. And now, who knows? I really am interested to see how it goes because there's 33 years of them.
Right.
So we're talking hundreds of issues, right? Because they're about 10 per year.
Yeah.
I think they did. Now they may used to do more. I don't know, but
yeah, it got to be hundreds of issues.
Yeah. And the math on that's right, isn't it?
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, if you only did 5 a year for 33 years, you're over 100.
Right. Okay. So it's hundreds of. Okay. I was like, you made me think my math was off.
Just by confirming that it was correct.
Yeah, but the way you confirm stuff, it's like I can never trust you. I can never trust anything about what you do. You too.
Yeah. Tell me what I am.
Sarcastic. So even when you confirm something, I think he's just sarcastically confirming it, and now I can't believe it.
I'm too sarcastic, he says. Well, I'll make a promise to you right now, Grandpa.
Okay.
For the rest of this episode,
okay,
starting right now,
right,
I will not be sarcastic. Not one time.
There's literally no way you'll be able to do it, but I want you to try, and I'll be very impressed. I will tell you how cool you are at the end of the episode if you're willing to do it, if you're able to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Well, maybe that's a bonus episode fodder right there.
What do you know? I'm doing it right now for the main episode.
Okay.
There will be no sarcasm. I'm Walter Cronkite.
Perfect.
And that's the news.
Okay. Well, we got another comment here about Game Informer. This one's from Thunderstrick. Who says, well, that sucks. I grew up reading this as a kid. I still have years worth of them. Me and my dad have a whole collection, though some of them are far from good quality and we're missing some.
That's really cool. I like, we were just talking about with the Nintendo Powers. Like, I'd love to have a collection of those. So I think that's awesome. And I commend you and your father.
Yeah. I planned on collecting the physical versions now that they're back at doing physical magazines. I started a little place in my collection where all my games are. I made a little area to keep the magazines. Well, it's not going to be a very big collection.
And that probably made you sad, and I'm sorry to hear that.
And it made you laugh.
No, it didn't, because I just subscribed. Because I flipped through, an issue or two at your house, and I thought it was cool, so I subscribed.
Yeah.
And now I think I'm going to collect the last issue.
That's kind of cool in a way, though. Like,
no, it's not.
To only have the very last one. Like,
I don't think it's very cool at all.
Yeah.
Because I was looking forward to reading them on the couch.
It would be like, say you have the couch. It would be, say, like you have a publisher that's made games forever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden they're like, we're done. Like, we're a developer we're out. And the last game was the only game you ever got from them. That's kind of cool in a way, right? Like, you got their last one. You got the last issue.
Maybe. I mean, I'm excited to read it, but I would have liked to be able to read multiple issues.
Right. We should be clear that if you are a Game Informer subscriber, they are prorating refunds. I think you do have to reach out to them via email.
Yeah,
At least that's what the email said.
I'm going to do that this week because we were talking about that yesterday, and apparently they just won't send me my money back. I have to ask for it back. So cool. I think that's great. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I'm happy to do my part.
Yeah, you're going to need to. All right, we got another comment here. Hit us this one from Daniel. Not you, Daniel. A different Daniel.
No, this is Daniel Tilleroo. Okay? Daniel Tilleroo said a long time ago, I can still remember when you would get them for free when you bought a game.
Okay, jokes don't count as sarcasm.
I agree. That was in American Pie lyrics. That was not a joke.
Right.
I mean, it was a joke, but it wasn't sarcasm.
Right. Okay.
A long time ago when you would get them for free when you bought a game. That's the comment. I also remember that. That's like a core memory. I remember that.
Yeah,
at
I mean,
GameStop.
like GameStop, they just have a stack of them there, and they just like be like, "Here, take one."
Yeah.
And I would take one, and then I would maybe just browse through it and then throw it away.
That's exactly what I would do.
Which is a shame because, like, now that I've started reading Game Informer, I really appreciate that it has some like evergreen content. Like, it's not all just like, there are reviews, there are previews, and obviously those are a little more topical.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of just like articles that are about gaming in general, and it's just, they're fun to read. They're well written and they're entertaining, and it's just really cool. So
yeah, you were talking about the pacing being different in a written magazine versus like a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting because a YouTube video, it's all about retention, right? Like at any moment, right? And we're very aware of this. At any moment, you could click away from this video, right? And it would devastate us.
We'd cry.
It would hurt. I wouldn't cry. I might have agreed with Randy in a past life, but since I'm not being sarcastic, I'm just going to let you know I wouldn't cry. But I hope that you don't do that. But a magazine knows that you're not clicking off of it because you're reading on the toilet.
Yeah. Or on the couch. On the toilet. That's where you read it.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting because it's true. Like, and that maybe is a dying thing.
It very well could be. I mean, like, I get a lot of my gaming news. Obviously, don't get it from a magazine. I get it from like VGC or just from YouTube videos, or like Nintendo will post things on their Twitter account or whatever. Like, there are lots of ways to get news quick.
Yes.
So relying on a gaming magazine for news that isn't going to work. So they have to go with things like these articles where it's more just like these thought pieces on video games, or they can do reviews and previews, like those things. But even those are sort of time sensitive. Yeah. Because the day that it comes out that you can put a review out, everyone posts their YouTube videos at that very moment. And a magazine might take you a couple weeks to get to you. So you may know all you want to know about Star Wars Outlaws. Right. Before the magazine gets to you. And you're like, well, it's kind of too late.
Yeah. So they definitely have to approach it, from a different angle. And I think that is a little... I think I would have thought, if I could get the magazines, that was refreshing.
I did. I do, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You ready to move on to our next topic?
Yes, but before we do, can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
In my attempt to not use any sarcasm, I feel like I went into the settings of my personality and just turned down the Daniel slider.
Well, you know what, Daniel? You ain't got to be cool. You can just... you don't have to tell me... You don't have for me to tell you that you are cool. You can just turn it back. Just be sarcastic. Be you. And I'll just not tell you how cool you are. And that's fine. You don't have to hear it.
But I've never heard it before. And that's not sarcasm. That's true. Okay, anyway. It's still on, by the way. But I do want to tell you guys in a very earnest manner about our Twitch. Okay, so if you are bored on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Thursday, or a Sunday, you need to come hang out with us on twitch.tv/gaminggig. Oh, I thought you were going to tag in there and continue the pitch.
There is a link to our Twitch in the description of this podcast, wherever you are watching / listening to it.
I thought I was trying to serve it up to you, and I turned to you, and you were going,
Yep. Just listen to your pitch.
Yeah, but we do a lot of fun stuff, so y'all come hang out.
Okay, so Did you hear about the game developer who put out a new visual novel? Someone got excited and streamed themselves playing the visual novel on Twitch. And now the creator of that visual novel is like going to take legal action against the person for streaming it.
Oh, yes, I did hear that. You must be referring to Takuya Iijima, the creator of the Apathy series, whose new game Apathy Murder Club was streamed in its entirety to multiple endings on release day.
Yeah, so I had never really thought about this being a thing. This was like new to me. Now, admittedly,
Same here.
I am not very big into visual novels. In fact,
Yeah.
I think I've only ever played one.
Yeah. And it was a banger.
I played Doki Doki Literature Club, which is great.
What a banger.
Great game. But I hadn't really thought about how those games have a little bit of controversy over whether you should post gameplay or stream playing them. Apparently that's a little bit taboo according to some people.
Yeah, so I never thought about that either because I'd never heard of it. And it's a game. And streaming games is something that we do a lot and that it seems like the industry encourages and most devs appreciate. So when I heard all this controversy, I was really taken aback. But I do, I see the point of like a visual novel is different than Sea of Thieves, right? Like in Sea of Thieves or most games, the gameplay is radically different from person to person and you can take different routes, you can do different things. The experience isn't necessarily one-to-one across the board. But with a visual novel, when your whole job is to click through dialogue and then maybe make some choices along the way, I don't know that watching someone stream that game is a radically different experience than playing that game.
Right. That's the whole argument, is that these experiences that you get from watching someone play the game is pretty much the same as you playing it yourself. Therefore, if you watch someone play it, you're not going to be incentivized to purchase and play the game on your own because you've already seen it. There's no point in buying it and playing it if you already know exactly what's going to happen.
Yes, that's the argument. And, this guy did apparently ask people to not stream the game for a week.
He did.
It was apparently, it's probably on the title screen or, it probably is there when you start the game. I don't know that. I think it was on a website.
Yeah.
I don't know, the circumstances surrounding this streamer and if they ignored it, if they didn't know, like I have no idea.
I really don't know. And nothing about, no article, the article I read did not say if the streamer like did this willingly, like if they were just like, screw the fact that you want me to wait a week, I'm doing it anyway, just because it's a new game. I can't imagine that Apathy Murder Club is that hot of a game to stream that they're like trying to do it for like, clout. I really don't think that that's the thing.
I would be shocked. And I think they did take the videos down. But something that kept coming up in the article was that Iijima, I think that's how you would say his name, I'm just guessing here, kept saying that the guy hasn't apologized. Which I found funny because if I'm a guy and all of a sudden I hear that someone's trying to sue me, I may think the time for apologies is over. I don't know that my first knee-jerk reaction to being sued would be to call him up and be like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, can you just drop this? Like, I might think it's past that.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm projecting. I just feel like that's pretty logical.
Yeah. So I think one of the reasons that this article stood out to me so much was that, one, I didn't know much about the visual novel thing, so I was surprised to know that this is like a taboo subject. But also, just this guy's manner. We have some quotes that you've pulled for about this.
We do.
And these quotes, in my opinion, don't paint this game creator in a very, pleasant light.
Yeah, and dibs on the second one, so you read the first one.
Okay, I'll read the first one. So the first one said, one of the quotes from this game creator.
This is from his original X post.
Yes. He said, "I don't create games so that people can create derivative works or play them live. Ooh. We create games for other people to play. Is that wrong? I make a living by making games. I am supporting my family."
Yeah.
Calling it derivative works.
I felt targeted by that.
Yeah, as people who play games on
the internet.
On the internet, I mean, I get it. If you're just like, if you were literally just playing the game, not saying anything, just playing the game and it's a visual novel, it's kind of almost like playing a movie or reading a book aloud on a stream. Like, that's kind of what it is. And in that case, okay, I could see an argument for being a derivative work. But most streamers, you watch them not for the game they're playing. You watch them for the streamer's reaction and like their personality. Like, that's the whole point.
The game is usually, to us anyway, the game is like a backdrop for us to hang out and be a little silly.
Yeah.
And the definition of derivative is that it is typically of an artist or a work of art, imitative of the work of another person, and usually disapproved of for that reason. And based on that definition, I don't think that our work is derivative, because we're not trying to imitate the game. We're not trying to imitate the guy who made the game.
No.
We're using the game as a medium to hang out and maybe give our thoughts on the game, and sometimes not even that. Sometimes we're just chilling, you know? But I agree, that doesn't paint him in the best light.
Yeah.
He did go on. So the day after the initial post, he went on to say that he does appreciate that content creation takes hard work, but that he's still suing the guy and that he hasn't said sorry. And in a response to a comment on his post, so this is someone who commented on his post. They were talking about the rules of not streaming visual novels and how, I guess it maybe started in the West, but apparently it's making its way into Japan now.
You mean ignoring the rules? The rules of like ignoring those rules started in the West.
Yes. So there was a comment on his post from a guy talking about how ignoring this rule about visual novels is becoming common, I guess. Okay. And Ijima replied, "Such people do not show any remorse and will continue to prey on other vulnerable people. I think most of them are the kind of people who would rather make excuses than apologize. I'll give those who look down on the world a bitter candy to lick." And if that's not anime villain material, I don't know what is. And I both kind of hate it and love it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like this dude needs to start writing some visual novels.
It does.
I think it sounds like he'd have a pretty good career doing it.
It does.
Yeah, he's got a flair for words.
He does. He's very dramatic. Very descriptive. Bitter candy to lick, like that just really hit, hit me right in the feels. Everybody's licked a bitter candy. Nobody wants to do it again. I love this. And me and Randy decided going into this episode that we were going to poke a little fun at this guy, but I'm trying to see both sides of it. And I do, because a visual novel is so different from another game. So I get it.
Yeah.
I just don't necessarily love the jump straight to suing the guy.
Yeah. Maybe it's better to hey, maybe we should start the conversation about if it's okay to do this. Because honestly, I had never thought about this. I would have
never thought about it.
Yeah. If we were going to stream say you were playing a visual novel and we were doing our hangout streams where we just play whatever we're playing and you pull up your visual novel and you start playing it, I wouldn't think about it.
I would have never thought about it.
But I do think that it's good to have the conversation,
because I do want to play through the Phoenix Wright trilogy, and I thought maybe doing it on our little hangout streams might be a good idea, but now I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
and that's even a game about a lawyer.
Yeah, and I think that it does make it so that if you see someone play it, I get it. You might not want to buy it at that point. You may not feel like you need to.
Yeah.
And really, visual novels are best if you go into them
completely ignorant.
Yeah, and just know that. People will say, "Oh, it's good. You should read it." It's kind of like a book.
Yeah, I mean that's how Doki Doki Literature Club was. I don't think I'll ever get to a point in my life where I freely give spoilers to Doki Doki Literature Club. I just hold it in such high regard.
Right.
I would feel awful to ruin that for somebody.
Yes.
Also, I don't think I would want to stream that game.
No. Well, I mean, it wouldn't make good stream material, but it really would kind of ruin the experience for anyone else who wanted to play it.
It would.
And so I get that. I really do get it. But we put out a poll asking you guys if you thought it was okay to stream and or post playthroughs of visual novels.
That's right. At 72%, people said yes, stream away. At 9%, people said no, don't you dare. And at 19%, people said, I am not sure. And that's Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah, I threw her in there just to, I don't know that many visual novels, so I was just, kind of going through.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that a vast majority of people say it's cool. Yeah, stream a visual novel.
I'm not at all surprised by that. because I feel like the people who vote on our polls are probably mostly, I would say, primarily American.
Probably.
You know, at least Western, and they probably didn't know any more about this than we did. Like,
right.
I would have never thought about this, like, ever, and like this could have happened to me. That's what I'm saying.
Totally.
I mean,
yeah. If you were like, "Hey, I'm gonna play this game, and I'm just gonna stream it,"
yeah,
don't even think twice about it.
I'll tell you what I would do. I would have apologized.
Well,
because I would have felt horrible.
Well, I'm sure. Like, if he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna take legal action against you for streaming my game. I asked you to give me a week and you didn't do it."
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's like, is that asking people just to like wait a week? Is that in any way legally binding? You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Probably not.
Like,
I don't know.
You just ask like everyone playing to be like, "Hey, be a bro and don't stream for a week."
Well, I don't know. I don't know what happens when you turn the game on. Is it one of those little, user agreements that you have to be like,
I don't know,
hit OK on that nobody reads? Maybe it was buried in there, and maybe that is somewhat legally binding. I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, we have a comment here. This one's from Eth. 42, who said, "I know the article you talked about. In this case, the homepage of the game specifically asked the players to not stream until a week after release. So playing the game live kind of seems like a dick move, to be honest."
Yeah, so there you go. I guess it's on the homepage of the game. But again, is that legally binding?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it a dick move?
Maybe.
Yeah, sure. If they asked you not to do it and you did it, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think... I feel like if I were to load up a game and it was like, "Hey, just give me a week," just like so that people are willing to buy the game, because the market's small and the people who are interested in it might look up a stream or a playthrough of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we would stream that game.
No.
I don't think we would do that, just because it would maybe be a little rude. But I don't know that I would expect to be sued if I did.
Right.
But I don't know what it said.
Tough.
I don't know what it said.
It's really tough, and it kind of... But this goes, I think, even beyond visual novels. Like, lots of games, the story is the main reason you play it. And those games, is it okay to stream? Like, is it okay to stream The Last of Us?
I thought about The Last of Us too.
Like,
because,
you know what I mean?
Because, like, every playthrough is different in the respect that, like, you might go in this room, I might go in that room, you might revisit the room twice. Like it's all different. But it is a linear game. You're not making choices. You're playing through the same story as I did. So I don't know where the line is. Is it the fact that it's drawn? Is it the fact that it has the words novel in the genre?
It's tough. It's really tough to say, because that's the first thing that happens when people, a new game comes out, is you get a playthrough posted to YouTube. Like, you can go on and find it like day one.
Yep. And it's full of spoilers, and it's just the way it is.
And if you don't want to be spoiled, you just don't watch it.
Right. I think we might be encountering a cultural difference that we don't get.
Yeah.
That's my guess. Like, I think visual novels are probably maybe a little more popular over in Japan.
Way more. Like, in Japan and like, yeah, just definitely.
Yeah. So maybe maybe the gamers in Japan know this, and they would understand more why this is kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of like two rednecks in the woods thinking like, well, I don't much see how that's different than Joel and Ellie.
It's how it feels, though.
It is.
And I just don't know. I really don't know. I'm glad that I've had something come up to make me think about it, because it's something that I legit have not ever thought about. So
yeah, same here.
I'm just glad that it would happen. But I mean, this dude seems like he's a little dramatic, but you know what? He's the creator of visual novels. I think you got to have a flair for the dramatic aspects of life to be able to do that.
100%. Absolutely. And I know I made fun of the guy's quotes. I was upfront about the fact I was going to do it.
Yep.
But I do see it. I see his side. I just think that he also could have written dialogue for the Joker.
Well, there you go. All right, y'all, we're going to move on to our last subject. But before we do, I want to tell you guys about our Discord server. Hey, if you're looking for a place just to hang out with some like-minded gamers and just chill, talk video games, join our Discord server. There's an invite link in the description of wherever you get this podcast. We'd love to see you.
It's a good time. Sometimes people just ask how everybody's day going. It's a real friendly place.
Seriously, very friendly.
Y'all come on.
Y'all come on now.
All right, so, Randy, you know about the Switch. You've heard of it.
Very familiar.
Have you heard the rumor that eventually we may get a successor to the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, and I know very much about the successor, yes.
And I have a follow-up. You do?
I mean, I know that it's coming. Nintendo has even admitted that it's coming. Hopefully this next year.
Are you holding out on me?
No, I'm not holding out on you. I know the same stuff you do. Probably 2025. Was supposed to be this year. It got pushed back.
This is not sarcasm. This is me being real. I thought we were about to fight. I thought he was holding out on me. I thought he knew all about it. And
you were doing so well at keeping back your sarcasm.
So, have you also heard about these handheld gaming PCs that seem to be taking the world by storm?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so, I think the logical question is when the successor to the Nintendo Switch launches, which we hope it to be early next year, can it hang with these things? Does it have a place anymore? Does it have a place in the market now that the subgenre of this market that it spawned has continued to grow?
Right. I think that's a big part of it, is that before the Switch, the idea and concept of having a hybrid handheld, it existed in some ways, but it really didn't take off as being like a mainstream way to play video games until the Switch.
Right.
And now that the Switch proved that it could be done really well, the next thing was, well, let's get other people in on it. And it seems like for whatever reason, handheld PCs, the handheld PC market, were the ones to say, okay, let's try it with handheld PCs.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the Steam Deck from Valve kind of kicked the door open.
Yep.
But then we also have this Asus ROG Ally. Now we got the Ally X, which is the new hotness. We got the Lenovo Legion Go. Those are definitely the three big ones. But there's smaller ones too. You got GPD. You got this Chinese company called Ioneo that makes, honestly, some really cool stuff. It's just often really expensive. But they do have some really cool looking stuff. So there's a lot of options. And
it's not just this Switch anymore. Not just the Switch.
Not even close. And obviously, everything I just named is way more powerful than the Switch. And can do a lot more.
Can play a lot more games.
Yeah. But you know what it can't do?
What's that?
It can't catch Pokemon legally. It can't stomp Goombas legally.
Yeah.
It can't wield the Triforce of Courage legally.
Yeah. I mean, no, you are right. I mean, like, I think there's that. The games are the biggest thing. Obviously, there are workarounds, and people do that. But we've talked about it multiple times on the podcast. Like, I feel really weird about even the concept of emulating something that's currently in production and being sold, and like that just feels really. That to me feels icky personally. So. And I think that most people probably feel that way too. So we can pretty much ignore that aspect of it. So now it's just like whatever the Switch or the successor to the Switch.
Thank you.
What it's going to have is it's going to have Nintendo games, and that's something that these things will never have legally.
Correct.
Right. So, and because we know Nintendo's not going to be porting, they're not going to have PC ports anytime soon.
I don't see it.
Yeah. So there's that. And that's going to be like the main thing that I think a lot of people are going to say, well, of course, this Nintendo console will be fine because it's all about the games.
Right.
On top of that, though, I think about price. Like the price of these handheld PCs generally is quite a bit more than what we expect a Nintendo console to be priced at.
Definitely.
With some exceptions. Like the Steam Deck has seen, it can be pretty cheap for that LCD base model.
Yes.
Especially back at the summer sale when they marked it way down. I mean, it was really cheap.
You can get into a Steam Deck pretty cheap. And you can get into like the Not X Ally pretty cheap too, especially if you find like an open deal box at Best Buy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Besides that, I'm not sure that you can really get them very cheap, and the new Ally X, which is definitely the new hotness. That thing is all over my recommended page on YouTube, and I've watched way too much stuff about it. It's like $800. Not exactly a competitor to what we expect next from Nintendo.
No, exactly.
Price-wise.
Exactly.
You know, way more powerful, yes. Way better screen, almost certainly. Way more expensive, yes.
Well, I think this is a very interesting conversation, and we got a lot of comments about this because we put a poll out, and the poll we put out said, will the Nintendo Switch's successor be able to compete with the continuous arrival and refinement of handheld PCs?
Yep, at 59% people said, yep, I think so. At 26% people said, no, I don't think so. And at 15% people said, I'm not sure.
And I think we should just get in some comments about this because I'm sure like some of the things we're going to be that we've said already might be elaborated on.
Oh, they might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit us with Daniel Souza.
Daniel Souza says, the reason why the Switch was so massive wasn't just because of its cool new features, but most importantly, its games. Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, etc. These massive new games brought attention to the Switch before it even released. Nintendo knows this, and that's probably why we haven't gotten anything big or major in recent directs. They're loading their big guns.
Daniel.
Ooh, yeah.
When I read your comment and I saw the last sentence, they're loading their big guns, it excited me. Because I certainly hope that they are loading their big guns. Because Papa needs a 3D Mario. Am I right?
It really is exciting to think of like, well, this past year in Nintendo, I'm not going to say it hasn't been exciting because there have been a select few things that are interesting.
Yeah.
We're getting a new Zelda game. So like you can pretty much say like any year with a new Zelda game is like, it's at least
It's not
decent.
an off year.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. But it kind of feels like an off year when you compare it to the rest of the Switch, right? The rest of the years of the Switch. Have we ever had a year that was as low output as this one?
But I mean, we've said this on the podcast before, but while sure, maybe it is low output comparatively, it's still ridiculously good for a console being over 7 years old. It's still obscenely good, in my opinion.
We're getting Zelda.
You're getting your Mario and Luigi, which a lot of people are really pumped about. I don't know. Maybe I'll eventually play it, but it definitely looks cool.
Yep.
Did Thousand Year Door remake come out this year, or was that last year? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like filling the schedule with remakes and remasters feels like I almost like don't want to count those. I know. Yeah, but that's not all there is. There's plenty of others, and so like those feel like they're padding. They feel like padding. Not that they can't be good because they can be great games, but they feel like padding. When like coming up, we've got Luigi's Mansion 2 HD.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got the third release of Donkey Kong Country Returns. It feels a little bit like padding.
I don't have to talk about that one.
Yeah.
That we all know I was disappointed by that one.
Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that they're not clearly kind of reaching to make sure that they still have a year, but I do think that they've done a better job than anybody figured they would.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider that very likely the reason that there are so few high-profile games this year is because of this reason.
Because they're loading their big guns.
They're loading their big guns.
Baby girl.
And I really wouldn't be surprised if we see a new 3D Mario at launch. A new Mario Kart at launch. Like, I think those are very reasonable things to expect. I don't think we're going to get a new like 3D Zelda at launch because we know how long those take to make.
Definitely.
And we just got one last year.
Yeah.
So.
And how long will it take them to tell me something about Smash? Probably not forever.
It won't take too long.
It can't.
It really can't.
It's a marquee.
I expect it to be pretty similar to like the Switch, where we get news about it within the first year.
That
wouldn't that be awesome?
That just speaks to me.
Yeah,
I can't wait. It's been so long since we got a reveal trailer for a Smash game.
Yeah,
I will just shit all over the place. I am so excited.
Just rip off the britches and let it fly, huh?
No.
The britches. Keep the britches on.
I am so excited. Like Smash. Anyway, we're actually going to talk about Smash a little later.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's in a comment. So
Yeah.
you want us to go on to the next comment here?
Sure.
All right. We got Steve Davies who said it will more than compete in terms of sales. It will absolutely dominate the handheld market. That don't mean it will be better though. Anyone bored of playing the same Mario, Zelda, Smash Bros, Mario Kart, etc. for the last 25 years should pick up a PC handheld. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's interesting. I think that a lot of people, a lot of Nintendo fans kind of get in the Nintendo rut.
Yeah.
And as a person who tends to fall into the Nintendo rut occasionally, I do find that when I bounce out of it, which I do, I definitely don't get it, but I've lived there. Yeah. I know what it's like to be in the rut.
Yeah.
It's nice to get out and try different things.
Yeah.
That being said, I keep going back to the rut for a reason.
Well, you know? I was about to say it works both ways because, sure, I've been in Nintendo ruts, no doubt, and it's refreshing to get out of them. And I would consider the past maybe couple years me being fairly out of it.
Definitely.
And recently, I've kind of come back. I've been playing mostly Switch, and it feels like a warm blanket. It is just like, it's so cozy. It's like coming home. And it just feels nice. I want to be back in the rut. Like, give me a rut to fall in, Nintendo. You know what I'm saying? Like, rut me, baby.
Rut me. And at the same time, though, you know, like, I do think that it's good to get out and try some other stuff. And, like, I think a handheld PC is great for trying stuff. Probably the best option, honestly.
Excellent.
You know, unless you just don't. Well, the thing about the handheld PC is it's very console-like, you know?
Well,
especially like
Steam Deck.
But, I mean, it gives you the flexibility of a console in that you don't have to be in wherever your PC is. You know, like a console can be played in the living room. You can play your handheld PC in the living room. You can dock them. You can play in handheld. It's just really flexible.
Yep.
I think that added flexibility helps you, makes you more willing to try different things.
Absolutely. It gives you a ton of options and does... You know, it lets you do things that Nintendo doesn't allow you to do. But it also doesn't allow you to do what Nintendo does allow you to do, which is why you got to get both.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, I'm always interested when people are like, I'm not a Nintendo person. I don't play any Nintendo games. I just don't play them. I think kind of the same thing. It's kind of like, you should try them because they're fantastic games. Like, if I could only choose one, personally, I would choose a Nintendo system, but that's me personally. But that's because I find them to be my favorite games.
Well, I would agree. I would do the same thing because Smash is completely non-negotiable. I have to play Smash. If there's a new Smash game out and I can't play it because all I'm doing is playing Steam Deck, I'm going to have to sell that damn Steam Deck.
Right, yeah.
I have to play Smash.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's like... And Nintendo games, I don't know that I have like one franchise that like is that way to me, but just Nintendo in general is kind of that way with me. Yeah. I have to play Nintendo games. Like if a new 3D Mario comes out, I have to play it.
I have to play that.
A new Zelda comes out, I have to play it. You know.
I mean, I don't know if you still well, there just aren't that many games coming out, but you know, for the Switch, you would pretty much jump on any first party game for Nintendo. Like, you know, you played like Yoshi's Crafted World, and you played the, you know, like your Kirby Star Allies, and like those games I was not interested in because they didn't look like my kind of games. You know, they looked maybe cozy and adorable and well made, but not really what I look for in a game. You know, so I don't know that I'm just that way for anything with the Nintendo stamp on it. But I feel so strongly about a few of those franchises that it just has to be.
That's fair. That's fair. We have another comment here. This one's from Tom Derry, who says, since we're talking system only, no, it can't. If we're talking games, though, it's not easy to hold your own against Nintendo. People buy a PC for specs. They buy a Nintendo for games.
And that goes along with exactly what we've been saying. It's not going to be as highly spec'd as the ROG Ally X.
Not at all.
But it's going to have some games that you can't play there, and my money is on some of them being freaking fantastic. And I don't know. How much do I need to beat this horse? I don't know. You let me know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, you know, because we've found that if the system isn't up to snuff
Mm-hmm.
for Nintendo, people won't buy it. We saw that with the Wii U. The games weren't enough.
Yeah.
But I would argue that the reason the Wii U failed was not because the games weren't good.
Mm-hmm.
It was because it wasn't even necessarily that the console was bad. It was that the gimmick was bad.
I don't even think the gimmick was bad. I just think people didn't understand what it was. Because I, as somebody who did play the Wii U when it was new, immediately I thought the gimmick was fantastic.
But it was a gimmick. And I think that was the big problem, is that it was a gimmick. And the Switch...
But we just come from the Wii.
Yeah.
That was a gimmick.
Which was a gimmick, yes. And I think that the Wii died out prematurely because it was gimmicky.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was why so many people got tired of the Wii. It's because after a couple years of it, they were like, the gimmick wore off and it just wasn't good anymore. And the thing about the Switch is you could argue that the whole hybrid dockable console thing is a gimmick. But the thing is, to me, for it to be a gimmick, it has to feel like a gimmick. And to me, it doesn't feel like a gimmick.
Yeah.
It just feels like a really great feature that I wish every console had the option to pick it up and take it with me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily feel like it's a gimmick if it's that, like...
Because it's so well done.
It's so well done,
It's so well done. It makes so much sense, and it adds to it, you know?
Yes.
And the Wii U, I mean, I've always seen the Wii U, you know, as like maybe the prototype for what the Switch became, because the gamepad, you could play on the gamepad, but you couldn't take it anywhere. You know,
Yeah.
you could take it in your house, you know, with certain limitations. And maybe the technology just wasn't there yet for you to be able to take it out the house and play, you know. But and maybe that's why it's a gimmick, because it wasn't quite there.
It wasn't quite there, and I think that also a lot of games requiring this, like the maybe
dual screen thing.
the asymmetrical, like you're playing on your handheld and you're playing on the TV at the same time. Like, although there are a few games in which that concept works, for the vast majority of games, you have to shoehorn that in to make it make sense.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't. It doesn't even feel like it adds anything. In fact, it feels like it adds a barrier instead of allowing you to access games in a new way.
Yeah, I didn't play any of the games that required that to be like a heavy feature. You know, all the games that I played on it were like games where maybe you had a map there or something, but like it wasn't crazy. And games like Smash and Mario Kart and things like that, you didn't need it at all.
No,
you could just play it right there. You're not missing anything, and I loved it. But yeah, I mean, where's the line between gimmick and feature? I don't know. The Switch definitely crossed it, though.
The Switch definitely crossed it, for sure, 100%. Like, Switch went from what could, on the surface, maybe felt like a gimmick, but once you start realizing, you realize, wait, this is just something that everyone should do.
Yeah.
And that's why we have things like Xbox rumored that they're going to become with some sort of handheld hybrid, potentially hybrid console. PlayStation is dabbling with it in a small way, but they may even be coming with a full-on hybrid system in the future as well. I mean, obviously, this is all just like
Leaks.
and guessing and stuff. Like, we don't really know for sure that either of those are going to do it. But obviously, we know that the handheld PC market, which maybe moves the fastest in terms of like getting new new hardware out. Yes, exactly. They've already gone into it full force. Like, it is really taken over.
They've already like iterated on models.
Yes,
you know, like we've already got a Steam Deck like mid-cycle refresh, and we've already got an Ally X, which is essentially a mid-cycle refresh, and they move fast. But PC companies do that. You know, like Asus, you know, they'll put out like a new version of their gaming laptop every year. You know,
Yes,
like
exactly.
It's just what happens. So it's a whole different approach where consoles go for like 5 to 7, maybe 8 years, and then PCs are like new model every year, and it's like a damn car. You know?
So it's really interesting to see, and I do think that the competition is going to be stiffer. I do think there is going to be some people who are going to be like, okay, I want to get a new thing. I really like the idea of these hybrid consoles. What do I want to do? Do I want a Nintendo console, or do I want maybe to get a handheld PC? And there will be some people who choose a handheld PC over a Switch. But I feel like most of the people who want a Nintendo console, and they don't care that there's competition out there that they might be able to enjoy as well.
Right. They're going to buy it no matter what. Yeah, and that's where we fall. Randy already is on record saying he would spend $800
I did not say that.
on the successor.
Go
to
back
the
and watch it.
Switch.
I did not say that.
All right. We got a comment here from Indoorsman, which is a hilarious name, by the way. I love that. As a person commenting on a gaming podcast, that freaking tracks. Indoorsman said, Nintendo doesn't compete. And I'm not sure exactly what Indoorsman's meaning was, but I can tell you what I took from that. Which is that I completely agree. Nintendo does not compete because Nintendo is its own thing.
Yeah.
Nintendo is like hacky sack.
I'm interested to see where you go with this.
Nintendo is like hacky sack because when you want to play hacky sack, Randy, what do you say?
Let's hack some sack, bro.
Okay, sure. So that's fine. Another thing you could have said was, Daniel, let's play hacky sack. But you know what you don't say?
No.
You don't say, let's play with the foot bag. Because hacky sack is a brand that became synonymous with the product that they make, right? They transcended into becoming the generic name for that thing. And amongst some people, Nintendo's done the same thing. My parents, to this day, if I'm talking to them about Gears of War, which I never have, but it's an example. If I'm talking to them about something that is clearly not on a Nintendo console, that's what I'm trying to say. My dad would still refer to that as like, you playing that on the new Nintendo? That's what they do. That's what the older generation, at least around here, does. They also call all soft drinks Coke.
So there you go.
Tag in on this. I mean, I know that's a hell of a metaphor. Tag in on this.
I think Nintendo doesn't compete in that they're not trying to compete. They don't see PlayStation, they don't see Sony, they don't see gaming PCs or just PCs in general. They don't see them as competition because they know that what they're doing is just their thing. And then people are going to either like what they're doing or they're not. And they don't.
Right.
They're not trying to take an audience away from anybody. They're just trying to build an audience. That's it.
It's a growth mindset.
Yes, it's a growth mindset.
That's interesting. And you didn't even mention Xbox, so I'm sorry, Tim and Tom, but
I did too.
You are not. You mentioned PlayStation and Sony. You did mention Xbox.
Sorry.
So Tim and Tom, you ain't got shit on Nintendo. I guess I don't know what to say.
Tim and Tom. Okay. The reference just gets deeper. And a joke that no one even saw on the podcast, you're making a reference to a joke that was made off of the podcast. The Tom thing.
Oh, the Tom thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Randy and I were talking, and that we like to refer to Todd Howard as Tim Howard. And I accidentally referred to him as Tom in conversation, and I thought it was so funny that I thought I would bring it up again here. And then I thought, how funny would it be to just refer to it as though they're two people? So I just went in on it. Yeah. And since I can't be sarcastic, I just explained the joke instead of, continuing it or...
Yeah, I just think it's funny because it's like, is it a joke if it's only funny to you?
Yep.
Then it's a joke.
What do you mean, is it a joke if it's only funny to me? The point of a joke is to be funny. If it's funny to me, it's a joke.
Okay.
Don't tell me you don't think the Tim Howard thing is funny. I know you do because you crack up every time I do it on the podcast.
I think it is hilarious. The Tim Howard thing is a funny inside joke. The Tom thing, I just want our audience to be in on the inside joke. It can't be an inside joke if no one's in on it. Well, we were in on it. And yes,
I always figured that in some capacity, if it hit, and it hung around, which since we're explaining it in such detail, I'm not sure that it is hitting. I figured maybe eventually we would let him in on it, but here you're in on it now.
You got to earn it, y'all.
Let us know.
Daniel's not just going to give it to you. You got to earn it.
Well, let us know if you think Tim and Tom are competition for Nintendo. Or not.
Xbox. Tim and Tom. Okay, y'all. Look, we want to just say thank y'all for making it to the end of this podcast.
We do.
And the way we do that is through our 3 for Dale Club.
That's right. The 3 for Dale Club is an exclusive organization built only on the backs of fine people like yourself who comment on the podcast and say whatever you want to say, but make sure you include the phrase 3 for Dale.
Yep, that's our secret code phrase. We look for everyone who puts 3 for Dale in their comments. It lets us know you made it to the end, and we throw you up right here to thank you. Here's this week's 3 for Dale Club. Thank y'all. So, thank you for joining the 3 for Dale Club. But, Daniel, tell them about if they want more gaming gig.
There is no if, because we know that you do. And if you would like to act on that urge, which you undoubtedly feel, to get more gaming gig, we do a bonus episode after every podcast. And the only way you can get to it is to become a member of the podcast. So hit that join button, if you would like to. We'd love to have you. No pressure, though. And today on the bonus episode, we're talking about live service games and just gaming habits in general. Should you play the same game all the time, or should you branch out, or is there a happy medium?
Should be an interesting topic, right? We want to give an extra special thanks to those people who are members. Thank you for keeping us going, keeping us afloat. Our YouTube members are Heckvetica,
Land Installings,
Guy,
and Cataclysm.
Thank y'all for supporting the podcast. Well, all right, guys. Until next time, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.